Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Scotland, as we know, already has the highest amount of substance abuse deaths in Europe. And that figure is only getting worse. Figures revealed today show that in the first half of the year, over 600 people have already passed away because of suspected ODs. I have to be careful what I say early in the video. When one looks at this and one looks at recent videos we've done where police basically are not even bothering to investigate small time usage of these substances, where the Advocate General Dorothy Bain is advocating for legalised locations for these people to use these particular substances, and for major cuts in funding to rehabilitation services. I think the number of people ending their lives through these substances is only going to grow. Now, they have been warned, they have been told for several years, and so it's no surprise that that this increase in deaths is going to happen and will continue to happen, and the rate of increase will itself increase. So where there is like a number of deaths are like that, and so if you plotted it, there's an acceleration in the number of deaths, simply because policy after policy after policy is being brought in, each of them designed to actually encourage people to overdose. That is the takeaway that we have from what we can see, quite literally see, from their policies. So we'll take a look at this article and see what Alina Whittome, the strange-looking Canadian, is going to do about it. So, substance deaths on the rise once more as SNP try to dodge responsibility amid addiction rehab cut claims. So basically, they are denying that there's a cut in the money being sent for rehabilitation, and yet everyone involved in rehabilitation says yes, the money's being cut. At the same time, as I say, they're basically decriminalising these substances, and they're providing very nice places for people to go along and take them. What do they think is going to happen? And especially as the police are no longer kind of investigating it anyway, so supply is going to increase. It's ridiculous what they do, and they've been told what's happening everywhere where they've decriminalised this. You look at Portland, you look at Seattle, you look at Portugal. Portugal did a massive policy, an experiment on decriminalisation, and the problem there went massively out of hand, to the point where it's been reversed because it's just proven to be so appallingly bad. So Substance Minister Alina Whittome has said the SNP have not cut funding to budgets. She lies, as opposition MSPs recount services in Glasgow that claim they have. And is it me, or is she going very slightly bald? Certainly getting a widow's peak, which is an odd looking thing. And what is it about Canadian politicians? Is Canada so screwed up by Trudeau and his policies that you think they can't live there anymore? So they come over here, and then immediately over here go, let's turn it into Canada, a country so bad I felt I had to leave. Morons, aren't they? Anyway, more people died of suspected overdoses in the first half of this year than last, as pressure mounts on the SNP to deal with the substance death crisis. Only this week, Lord Advocate Dorothy Bain said she would recommend that users not be prosecuted for accessing consumption rooms, laying the legal groundwork for a pilot scheme in Glasgow. You can end up with a shooting gallery, aren't you? Filled with the dross of society, with these wastrels, people who no longer really lead a human life. They are merely puppets, and no one is helping them. And the only people benefiting from this are the dealers. So that is what Scotland's official policy is. Let's make it easier for dealers to make money. And I don't know what goes through their heads. Anyway, a total of 600 people died of suspected overdose deaths between January and June 2023, which is a 7% increase from the same period last year. Prior to these figures, Scotland was found to still have the highest death rate in Europe and record high alcohol deaths. It's everything. It's because people are living under an SNP government and they want to do something to get out of it. And so, of course, it's substances that they can get, legal or otherwise, because they just don't want to live in this world run by the SNP. And who can blame them? Addressing MSPs at Holyrood, Scottish Conservative MSP Sue Webber said, "It is essential that the SNP government takes every practical step to tackle the epidemic of narcotics misuse sweeping our country." More than one MSP, including Miss Webber, pointed out that the decision made by Lord Advocate yesterday tells us that there was always a way to do this, and instead the SNP has been battling with UK ministers who hold this legislative powers and have firmly said they are not prepared to move on the issue. Labour MSP Jackie Bailey said the constitutional fighting between two governments has thankfully not stood in the way of progress. The shame is that this could have been done ages ago and perhaps more lives could have been saved. By allowing people safe places to do this and not clamping down on the supply or possession isn't going to save lives. It's just going to give the people who do it somewhere nice to do it. It won't stop them doing it. And there's no hand-in-hand rehabilitation. If you truly want to do anything about this, you have to literally legalise all of these substances, all of them. Legalise them, bring them in, quality control them, tax them, and then use a high taxation rate to provide direct rehabilitation services. Clamp down on illegal suppliers and make supply legal only through pharmacies, but it's absolutely fine, legal through pharmacies, or legal through legalised dealers, government-controlled dealers, so that they know what's going in. They're not being cut with rat poison and things like that. There is a quality control. There is a level control. You know what you're getting. And it would reduce the crime associated with it. I'm going to suggest 90%. 90%. And what are these dealers going to do and these suppliers going to do when there's no money in it for them, because you can just go along to the shop and get it and it's clean and it's good and there's somewhere safe? They're going to have to go into something else, aren't they? Because they're not going to get a real job, are they? Start wiping them up, looking at their... and tax them. Take them in and tax them. That's the thing. Anyway, the Scottish Express was told by a leading campaigner that the pilot will only be effective with the support of addiction services, which is what I've literally just said. The SNP has come under fire for being behind the closure of state-sponsored beds in facilities, the closure of courts, and the funding cuts that have most recently hit a Turning Point 218 centre for women in Glasgow who fear they could have to shut. The centre states that they have suffered more than £1 million in cuts since 2020 by Glasgow City Council and the Scottish Government, and they say it's ludicrous. Miss Bailey said the consumption room plan was only part of the fight against drug deaths. I can't say it. Miss Bailey said the consumption room plan was only one part against the fight against these deaths and the abuse, and she echoed the stance of the Scottish Tories who are calling support for the Right to Recovery Bill. And that's the point. You can't just provide them with rooms. You've got to provide support, and you've got to provide therapy and recovery and get them off it. Otherwise, you're effectively just going to give them a shooting gallery to go, and they're not going to recover, and they're going to get worse and worse and worse until the deaths increases massively. And I said this in the one yesterday. Just giving them shooting rooms is a bad idea. Just decriminalising them is a bad idea. If you truly want to do something about it, you have to legalise them, but you have to have government-controlled supply, tax it, and use the tax money, ring-fence that tax money for recovery and rehabilitation. It's the only way it's going to happen. But they won't do it because it costs money. But it would be self-funding. That's the whole point. Decriminalisation is not the answer. Legalisation is the only way. But they don't see that because they're incredibly stupid. Anyway, Alina Whittam, the minister, said these claims are based on a misrepresentation of recent parliamentary questions answer. It's also important to point out that no one has actually proposed any reduction of funding in terms of our response to community justice within settings, including Glasgow and Turning Point 218. Well, the fact that nobody's responded to it or actually proposed any reduction doesn't mean that there hasn't been a reduction. There clearly has. Everyone involved in this has said their funding has been cut. So Alina Whittam is sitting there and basically lying again. But as I always maintain, that's what politicians do. They lie, they spin, they give the answer to the question they want to answer, not the answer to the question you're asking. Ms Webber pushed for answers on the prison support. She said SNP now have one less excuse for failing to tackle the death emergency in prison that has spiralled out of control on their watch. The minister must also spell out recovery and rehab programmes available for those suffering from addiction in Scottish prisons, something she's failed to do when I raised it during her statement on the MAT standards in June. Again, they're not doing anything. They're not bothered. Their policies are increasing the problem because they don't understand what they're doing. They're looking for a headline. They're not looking for a solution. And it's just there. What is wrong with her? She doesn't look like she's fully formed, does she? It's like a little plastic face in a warm room. It's very slightly melted and bald. That's a big bald spot coming up there, love. Anyway, maybe it's all that Canada scratching. I shall finish and come up. What you have here is so typical of the SNP. Do as little as you can to make it look as though you're doing something, but don't do enough to actually make a difference. Not actually decriminalising it, but effectively decriminalising it isn't decriminalising it. And decriminalising it is not the answer. Legalising it is. But they won't go that far. So they just go to the police and, no, just don't arrest them. We'll create a little room that can go in there. It isn't going to improve the problem. It's not going to make the problem go away. It's not going to help anyone. No one. The only people you're helping are the dealers. And ultimately, they are the cause of the problem. Get rid of the dealers, you don't have a problem. And how do you get rid of the dealers? The government becomes the dealer. Then everything is legitimate. And you can tax them. Money. Anyway, I shall stop there because I can't be dealing with stupidity any longer, he says. I wonder what my next video is going to be about. Anyway, so there's enough here. Enough Canadian stupidity. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, don't take nothing you shouldn't take, and goodbye. I mean, take what you like, I don't care.